Am I wrong for trying to take notice? Is it wrong that I paid enough? Is it wrong that I got the motive? It's been so long that I can write it up. I can feel the water. Is it that you're feeling almost done as done?
A cherry rolling, I'm all alone. Yeah, I'm a one and only, babe. All I have's on my shoulders. Vision clearing, yeah. Vision clearing, yeah. Let's play pretend, babe. I promise I won't cheat you. This moment lasts forever. Let's give all of our ring to. Let's play pretend, babe. I promise I won't cheat you. This moment lasts forever. Let's give all of our ring to. In the valley, yeah. Chasing thoughts I can't recall. Quest to find just what I need. All I have's on my shoulders. It's getting clearer, yeah.
All right, guys. Hello. How's everybody doing this evening? This evening, we have a very special guest, and I'll have her introduce herself, where she's from, her age, her name, and then what physical therapy school she is currently attending. All right, so go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Erin. I'm 25 years old, and I got my undergraduate degree at the University of Houston main campus. And I just finished my first semester of PT school at Howard University, the real.
The real. All right, guys. So I went to Hampton, so we call ourselves the real HU, but it's all good. So, what made you interested in physical therapy? Is this something that you knew you always wanted to do? One, and then also, what was your undergraduate major?
Okay. Okay, so honestly, it wasn't something that I always wanted to go into. Before undergraduate, I would say I didn't even really know about physical therapy or the field at all. So I ended up changing my major to nutrition, and I wanted to be a dietitian actually, but I decided that I wanted to be like more hands-on with my patients. So I signed up to be in a program called Adaptive Athletics. And so like I got to work with wheelchair rugby athletes, and I got to see like meet different therapists who would bring their patients to different games. And from there, like I just fell in love with the profession. After college, I worked as a technician at a hospital in Houston, and I think there like solidified my interest and was like, okay, like this is what I could see myself doing. So then there, I decided to take the steps necessary to move to the next level.
And that program that you mentioned, was that a program that's just a national, or was that a program that was specific to your undergrad?
Now, I don't know exactly. So my university, it was called the Adaptive Athletics
Mhm.
Program. And so what we would do is like program different tournaments for wheelchair rugby athletes, like nationwide, the best teams. And then we would like host tennis practices for local players, and then we would like help out with the rugby wheelchair players when they had their practices. We would like help replace their wheels or change their chairs. And so from there, I got to see like people from all different levels of injury, and I just thought it was so interesting. So that wanted to pursue the field even more.
Okay. And what area of PTA are you looking into? More so like outpatient, inpatient?
I'm honestly not sure. I don't have a whole lot of experience in outpatient, so I'm not really sure yet. But I know I loved
Really?
inpatient, So it may change, I feel like, depending on my experience, but mostly all I really know is inpatient. So I feel like right now that's like where I'm
What you
kind of
want?
set.
Okay. It's
Yeah. But I think eventually I might like go into outpatient like
okay.
later.
Yeah, and did you do acute care setting, where the maybe stroke victims or people who had just been injured or whatever, or was it what kind of inpatient was it, or more like geriatrics?
So so my hospital was actually a little bit different. It was like a rehabilitation
Okay.
hospital. So patients would go there after acute
Okay.
care. So once they get like they're stable, they come to inpatient. And sometimes they still might be sick or have different lines, but they're still like able to participate in therapy.
Gotcha.
So
Nice, nice. All right, so let's jump off topic just a little bit. Let's let the audience know what is something unique about yourself that you would want others to know.
okay, so
Yeah.
something unique is I just kind of started a cake business. It's called Sweet Lane Cake
Hmm.
Company. Um, And I'm just right now I'm growing and working out the kinks and figuring out where I want to take that next. So just learning and, figuring out that.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
And with your when you were selling, because I know we were talking about this a little off air, but you're in Texas now, moving to the DMV or DC rather. How do you plan to, I guess, market? Is it pretty much just totally word of mouth, or are you using Instagram, ads or something like that? Because I'm guessing you wouldn't be shipping the cakes, or was that something you would potentially do in school?
Probably not necessarily shipping the cakes because I haven't really had a lot of practice with
Hmm.
that. I'm still kind of working out the kinks, like I
Yeah.
said. Um, but I think social media has a big
Mm,
influence. So that's probably like where I'll start. Just kind of reaching out people or word of mouth too.
gotcha.
I'm trying to get like some like apparel made so I can kind of
Mm,
advertise like with stuff I wear.
okay.
So what is that? So
Cool, cool,
yeah.
cool. Yeah. And this is something that you said that you grew an interest in probably as of recently, right?
Yeah, I would say I probably have been baking about like a year and a half. Initially, it was something that I started as a way to cope. Like my mom really enjoyed baking after my dad passed away to keep herself busy. So I kind of would participate in that. And then from there, it just kind of like took off. And I just used like TikTok or YouTube to learn different ways of doing things or get inspiration. Oh, Pinterest too. I
Oh,
love
Pinterest,
Pinterest.
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, good. So let's talk a little bit about, I get, we you just mentioned your dad passing, and I'm sorry to hear that. Um how did that impact your transition from undergrad to graduate? Did that impact anything? Did it make you think about, the potential career that you would be in, or, was it something kind of a little bit more personal, didn't really have effect on what you were considering to do academically?
So at the time when it happened, I actually took a 3-year gap, so I wasn't in undergrad at
Oh,
all. But as far as like career wise, I would say that it kind of just made me want to for sure pursue that career because I know it was something that he kept like talking to me about and trying to connect me with different physical
ah,
therapists or
okay.
professionals. So it kind of is like, okay, like I'm gonna do it for him. So
Right.
I'm, I'm gonna get there regardless.
So
So.
what do you think made your dad interested in wanting you to pursue physical therapy? Like, cause physical therapy, it's one of these weird things in the last, I guess, 10 to 15 years. It's kind of grown a little bit more since we've become, doctor of physical therapy, and we were doing more direct access care in some states. So, but what made your dad, I guess, suggest that to you? Is that you, like, were you an athletic child, or what was that?
Not necessarily. I think what happened was I kind of told him that that was my
Okay.
interest. That's what I was pursuing. And he actually had some neuropathy, some amputations of his
Oh.
toe. And he had a physical therapist that came and talked to me. And she was kind of telling me how there was a gap in African Americans who were in the
Mm-hmm.
field. So I actually chatted with her for a day. And then after that, like, I got really good experience. And he kept kind of just trying to connect me with different people that he could find
Gotcha.
so I could,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So what was your biggest shift from college that mental shift that you had to make. So you took 3 years off. So you went to school at 18, undergrad at 18. Then you took, I guess, 19 to what, 20, 22 off. Like, what was the timeline for you taking those gap years? Because you're 25 now and you're already in school. So I'm just trying to get the timeline here. And what was the biggest mental shift that you had to make from undergrad to the graduate program?
Okay. So I started undergrad in 2014 and finished in 2018. And I took a 3-year gap year. I would say that it wasn't necessarily by choice because the last cycle I did apply, but I didn't get in my first time
Oh,
around.
okay.
So, I did, yeah, I wanted to take at least one gap year and then I wanted to start, but I didn't get in my the last cycle. So, but I think, things definitely work out for the better because last year, considering the pandemic and my dad passing, it wouldn't have even been a good time.
Okay.
So, it's crazy how things work out.
So
So,
the 3 years was after you graduated undergrad. Oh, okay. I got a little
yes.
confused there. All right.
Um,
Makes sense. And then what was that mental shift like? Was the stress on par with what you felt, or was it a little bit lower, or was it just above what you expected? Especially with all the adjustments you had to make, doing classes from home and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say that it was definitely above. We had 10 weeks and each, like we had 5 week, like sections in each 10 weeks. So we had 2 classes for the first 5 weeks and then 2 additional classes in the second 5 weeks. So it was definitely a big mental shift because it's like you're expected to know all of this information in 5 weeks for two
Mm,
classes. So, which I expected that. I knew that's what was expected of me, but it's still like when you're in it, it's different.
right.
So it's a different, ball game once you're actually in it. But
Yeah. And did you guys do study groups, like virtual study groups? How did that work?
so we actually did. We did, and they really helped a lot because I'm definitely like a kinesthetic
Yeah.
learner. I like to learn by doing things. So learning virtually is very difficult
Hmm.
for me. But I was able to get in a study group where we would each like read a chapter and then like teach it to each other. So I think that helped a lot.
Okay. And is that's something that you guys did by yourselves, or did the school help orchestrate that?
We did
Oh,
it by
nice.
ourselves.
Okay, cool.
It's kind of,
So you guys are kind of close, I guess, coming in. Now that you guys meet each other, you guys pretty much. And by the way, for the people viewing, your first semester you didn't have to go to class at all, because it was kind of intro classes. And now she's moving from Texas to the DMV, or DC in particular. And you grew up Texas most of your life, right?
yes, I've been in Texas
Okay,
all my life.
cool.
Yeah, same house, same
Okay,
city.
nice. So let's talk a little bit about right now. I know you, like you said, you were taking intro classes, but about how many hours just on average? Because part of this, I'm trying to create a picture of people, who are going to these type of schools and programs, or people who are just trying to do something, I guess, hard, if you want to say in general, about how many hours are you dedicating each day to this process, whether that's studying, prepping your notes, going over notes, anything like that. About how many hours outside of class are you using for your preparation?
I would say probably about like 1.5 to 2 hours, like for each weekday. I would try to take a break over the weekends, but if I needed to do stuff, I would. But or like if I needed to, or if there was a day during the week where I didn't spend that time, I would on the weekends. But I think I'm still kind of just figuring out how I study and what works for me. So I think different classes require different amounts of time.
So
So,
are you saying 1.5 hours for all the classes or per class?
oh, mm, I think one, it depends on the class, but probably 1.5, like to two per
Oh, okay. I
class.
was like 1.5 hours. I was like, yo,
Oh,
that's.
no,
I
no.
was like, I need your mind. Okay, cool, 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 cool. So, what's one thing that you wish you knew before you started this semester, got into this whole process? And I know that fire, with the anatomy and all that stuff, those classes haven't hit yet. But what's one thing that you think you wish you knew before starting this?
I think for one, I can sometimes be a very detailed
Hmm.
person. So I think I came in trying to like read each
Ooh.
chapter like and pinpoint every single tiny little
Yep.
detail and like try to research it. But it would just lead me to get overwhelmed and not even, be able to complete what I needed to. So I had to learn to like rely on people in my study group and they teach it to us and we figure stuff out together. So
Gotcha.
and just learning like to how to pick out what's
Right,
important.
right, right. And with this, the virtual experience that you guys had, did you have office hours with the professors, or how did that work in terms of getting contact with them if you needed help? Did you guys have tutors? And then also, I know when I was at Hampton, what they provided us was, some people call it bigs, some people call it mentors, different people call it different things. Did you guys get that coming into the school?
We didn't have bigs or
Hmm.
mentors as of yet, but in one of our classes we had a TA. So for that specific class, we could or like questions about the program in
Mm.
general, we could reach out to her. Oh, I'm sorry, what was the other question? What was the first
Uh,
one?
I hit you with a whole bunch. I'm forgetting. Okay, so I asked you about bigs, and then I also asked you, oh, did you have office hours that you could contact the professors and get like tutoring or anything like that that you needed help with?
Would like tell us kind of the days that they were available for time and we could just reach out to them usually.
Okay.
And that's kind of how that would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you say so far, I know you've only one semester and you're pretty content with, you know, your experience so far, or
Yeah, I would say
good, good,
so.
good. All right. So what is one tip that you would give to somebody out there, right? If they're considering applying to physical therapy and they're considering leaving home potentially. Of course, getting into PT school is difficult, so a lot of times people get in where they fit in. And it was Howard one of the schools that was, you know, you really wanted to go to when you started applying, or did you want to stay closer to
And
home initially? Because
yeah, I think initially I did. Well, I applied to schools closer to home, and unfortunately, I wasn't accepted
mm,
into those. But I'm really excited about this new chapter in a new
right,
city. So
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, the other what question you asked for
yeah,
advice?
yeah. My bad. What's a tip? Let's say if someone wanted to start physical therapy school, whether it was a night, you can give one, and then I'll give one, since I've had to go through this thing multiple times. Um, when if they're applying, right, and their GPA, like I'm one of those students who I didn't have a crazy high GPA. Um, I think what saved me was my letters of recommendation and my shadowing. But what's some advice you would give to someone who was looking into PT school? What's some advice you would give them when they started applying, and then once they got in, what's some advice you would give these individuals?
Okay, so first of all, I like to think of rejection as
Mm,
redirection. So, I dealt with the rejection my first time applying around, but I was like, okay, how can I change my application to make me more competitive? My GPA wasn't very strong. My GRE score was okay, but I had to figure out, okay, what can I control to compensate for not so competitive GPA? So I got a bunch of hours that were more diverse in some diverse settings. And so I would say do that for one, and just don't take that redirection personal, because it's you can't see how amazing you are just by looking at an application. Um, and then someone that's about to start PT school, I would say do some research on how you learn, just to like see like what kind of aids will
mm,
help you, because although it will be trial and error, I feel like if you can kind of have a leg up on how you retain information, that'll be really helpful.
that's good. So rejection as redirection. I like that. I like that because you know one thing about PT school or whatever with a lot of these, and you'll see it. Once you start your second semester and you start anatomy, and you start some of those really core classes, and then you're compounding them with each other. Um, I believe in most people's lives outside of maybe work and a job. I've what I found, and living my life for the 28 years I've been here. And I gotta, hopefully, God willing, a lot more to go. But most people don't have the ability, or they're not necessarily put in the situation on a normal day basis to get tested, if you want to say. So a level of stress, I believe, like PT school, and it could be different things. It could be PT school. It could be, moving away from home, having maybe nobody in the city that you're going to or something. I believe these levels of stress really are able to reveal to people things about themselves that they would never have known if they were in a comfortable environment, right? So staying at home or something like that, so these processes, I feel like, it really allows a person to be able to examine and see themselves. And then also it gives people a kind of good idea of how they would interact with different situations. Because I thought I was a person, I knew I had a good, pretty relatively good work ethic, but I also didn't realize how stress affected my work ethic and how long I could scale that work ethic. So if you have a good work ethic for a week or two, that's okay, right? But in PT school and in things in life, you have to scale it. Okay, am I able to keep this pace up for 3 years? For 6 years, for 7 years, if it's a different school. So that's one of the things that this whole journey revealed to me. It's not necessarily about just having grit and work ethic. It's about how long can you last, and what's your stamina look like? Because like I said, it doesn't make sense to be doing some of this stuff, but you can only maintain it for, a couple weeks, because you burn out and then you end up, dropping out and then losing money and stuff like that. So, yeah, she said that rejection, that was good. And I also say when I applied, leaving undergrad, I picked a pretty difficult major. I think that's an important thing. I did biology. And there were reasons behind that, because I was thinking about physical medicine and rehabilitation, or physiatry. So I was thinking about medical school or PT school. Once I shadowed, I said, okay, you know what, PT is what I want to do. However, when you're in undergrad, I would say, yes, you can take an easier route, because it might help your GPA and stuff like that. But if you're a person like me, I had a level of self-awareness to know that, okay, I know stress is not the best thing. I don't like necessarily dealing with high levels of stress for a long period of time. So I need to have a major that simulates the most amount of stress that I can take. So once I go to PT school, the adjustment period will not be as harsh, and I'm glad I did that as a biology major. Yes, my GPA did biology major, chemistry minor. So my GPA was about 3.25 graduating college. And then when I put in all my retakes for PT school, I ended up at a 3.13, right? So I'm coming in with a GPA that, there are people 3.5, 3.7, 3.9 and all that type of stuff. And one thing I realized is applying, I'm talking about this time I applied around, as soon July 1st, as soon as that portal opened, my application was submitted, because I knew that the only way I'm going to get myself ahead of the curve is to do something that maybe other people aren't doing. I had all my recommendations filled out. I had all my shadowing hours, and I had some from the first time I applied to PT school. So I had everything in place, and part of it was just proper planning. Okay, by this date, and then because I planned, when the pandemic happened, I had all the shadowing hours I already needed, right? Because I said, okay, by February, I'm going to get this done. By March, I'm going to get this, So that helped me, because my natural being procrastinates. I tend to put off things, and, if it's not that interesting to me, I'm just going to put it off, So having a plan set in place, because that plan helped me. And then also, being early, that really helps. So, what are 3 things that you think, and this is PT, but now we're just going philosophical life in general, right? 3 things that you think are most important. You're 25, so of course we're still living, we're still growing, but up in your life until this point, right? What are some of the 3 traits that you believe that you possess or people need to possess in order to live a successful, fulfilled life. And that's whatever definition that you term that as, right? Everybody's relative. But what are some of those three? What are three characteristics that you believe?
I think one,
Mm,
resilience, two, patience, and three, like the ability to embrace diversity.
okay.
Or, like,
Yeah,
I mean, not the
adversity. Yeah, I
adversity.
got
What?
you. I got you. No, I got you. I got you. Yeah. Okay, that's good. And this is the last question before we wrap it up. When you got, what was your mind state like, right? Because I've known people who have, like, I had a buddy on the channel, and I'm glad he kept on going because he applied, didn't get in, went, got accepted to do his master's in public health, went, got that whole master's. He applied again. I think he got rejected from some schools. He's like, all right, yeah, screw this. I'm just gonna, whatever. And he started thinking about, I already have a master's in public health. I'm ahead of some, whatever. I'll just maybe find some work in that field. But that's not what he really wanted to do. And the mind state at that point was like, I was like, bro, listen, you've applied to X amount of schools, right? And he was like, I'm not trying to do this anymore. I'm like, listen, if one of these schools accepts you, do you really think you can say that I'm not trying to do this anymore? And he had to really think about it. And then Alabama State accepted him. And then another school accepted him. So now he's going to Alabama State. But when you didn't get in that first time, right? And I know a lot of other things were going on. What was your mind state at that point? And did you kind of have that temptation to be like, you know what? Maybe I'll just kind of chill out. What was your mind state like?
I want to say I definitely did have that mind state. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get my master's degree. I'm gonna apply to nursing
Mm,
school. But then I was like, you know what? What if I do get in? And my family and everyone around me was like, just try. You don't know. So you don't know until you try. So I think that was like my push to go ahead and just try again.
push
So,
through it.
but I did have those moments where I was like, okay, is this even for me? Like, but all you need is one
Right.
yes.
Right.
So.
One yes. And just to give the audience a little bit of, I guess, a picture about how early did you apply when you were going into the cycle, the first time and the second time, and then how many schools did you apply to?
Okay, I think the first time I applied in September and I applied to, I want to say three or four
Oh, okay.
schools.
She was
Yeah,
confident.
and then
She's better than me.
and then my second time around, it was probably the same, like September or maybe like late August, early
Okay.
September.
Okay.
And then also four
Four
schools.
schools. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you my demographic. But the first time I applied was at like six schools, and I wasn't even really trying to get in, to be honest, the first time, because I didn't think I would. But my mom said she'll pay for it, so I was like, hey, why not? So I only got accepted into one school the first time I applied, which was Hampton. Second time I applied, it was 20 schools because I said I'm getting in, the second time. So it was a lot of money, but out of those 20, I think I got into four, right? So it ended up paying off. I went to the University of St. Augustine. I was there in January, and then I was like, I got to get out of here. But thankfully, I had applied to multiple schools, and it was school that started. Most of the schools I started were in the fall, so I ended up getting into another school. So, but that was the ratio for me. So it was a 20 to 4. That's what 1 to 4, 1 to 5, something like that. And so you did, yeah, you got in 1 out of 4. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. So, Erin, what are any last thoughts you would like to give to the audience? And then also, any parting words you will want to share with us. And then you can also shout out any links or anything like that you might have. And everything is at the bottom, guys. We have all our stuff in the description, but you could just say it while we're on here now.
I just want to encourage everybody who's in that pre-PT journey trying to figure out like, okay, what's my next step? Is this for me to just do it? Just try it and keep going. Um, And I just want to thank you for this platform.
For sure.
I think it's really needed, and that people need to hear different stories to, keep going along their way. And yeah, so my handles are my personal one is ErinLaineSPT on Instagram, and then my baking one is Sweet Lane Cake Co. on
Sweet.
Instagram. So
Sweet.
yeah, hello me. I'll be accepting orders in the DMV pretty soon.
All
So
right, guys, check her out. All right, all our links are at the bottom of the description. Thank you, Erin, for coming on again, and we are signing out.